Hey guys, Frank here and welcome back to another video on the New Vision channel. Here we are passionate about real estate and business in general, and our goal is to learn and share sound principles of starting and growing a great real estate business or any other business for that matter. In today's world, there tends to be no shortage of information that answers the question of what to do in order to be successful in various businesses that you might be interested in. The question becomes, why then do many not undertake or be successful at such businesses? The answer to this problem tends to be on the mindset side. As human beings, we are wired in ways that can sometimes work against our desires and pursuit for success in the goals that we set for ourselves. And to be successful in business or any other serious undertaking in life requires one to be aware of the pitfalls of the mind and find ways to walk around them. To be a successful entrepreneur is to be a good student, an observer of the happenings in the environment around you. And in doing so, one can see the most curious thing that happens in nature. In this video, we are going to pick on two such types of natural behavior and see what we can learn from them and use this knowledge to our advantage in propelling us forward to the massive success that we often desire in our business ventures or life goals. We will call these two types of natural behaviors the random walk and the hockey stick. Bear with us. The meaning of these names will become obvious as we go along. Let's start with the random walk. If you were to hold a small magnifying glass and look at dust particles suspended in water, you are likely going to see these particles bouncing around randomly. As the name suggests, the random walk is characterized by three things. First, it often shows furious and busy movement. And secondly, the steps of this movement are often inconsistent, sometimes small, sometimes large, and sometimes no movement at all. Finally, and perhaps most distinctively, this type of movement tends to be without direction. Words that have been used to describe this behavior include aimless, pointless, all over the place, directionless, etc. The net result of the person going through life in this way, that is, undertaking the random walk, is that over time, they wind up showing little to no net movement from their starting point. And the reason is very simple. They allow themselves to be influenced by any and all types of external factors, many of which do not encourage their business or life goals. Bringing this back to the real world of business and other ambitious life goals, the random walker starts out setting a worthy goal for themselves. And using that initial burst of motivation and enthusiasm for their goal, they start out with vigorous activity. Before long, the inevitable challenges show up, and their motivation and enthusiasm for their goal starts to decline. Soon, they slow down or worse, stop taking the daily, weekly, or monthly actions that take them closer to their goals. In some instances, the random walker actually takes actions that reverse previous gains. For example, dipping into the savings account that you have been building for years towards buying your first rental property in order to buy a car. Eventually, the random walker realizes after a few years of this behavior that they are nowhere close to the worthy desire that they started out with a few years before. At this point, the enthusiasm for this goal is now at its lowest. They conclude that it is too difficult, and they either give up or continue on this sluggish walk to nowhere. By contrast, the walker on the hockey stick pathway is characterized by a different set of behaviors. First, they are also active. But unlike the random walker, the actions are usually more consistent and measured. They are often not giant visible steps, but they are always moving, with small, consistent steps nevertheless. Finally, the biggest differentiator between the hockey stick walker and the random walker is that the hockey stick walker always has one specific direction in which they are headed. In other words, no movement is wasted, and every step serves to build on previous steps. Words that are often used to characterize this last behavior include focused, directed, grounded, centered, defined, etc. The result of this pattern of behavior for the hockey stick walker is that the beginning is too slow to even perceive any emotion. But over time, the results become quite dramatic and too big to ignore. When you look in nature, you can see this behavior everywhere. For example, the oak seed that goes into the ground and spends years with little to show for it. And then it becomes a sapling for another period, and suddenly it is a giant oak tree. Even our fairly recent enemy, COVID, exhibits the same pattern of behavior. First, starting with a local outbreak, and within weeks, it is a global pandemic. Or it could be your financial savings goal, starting with only a few dollars in the beginning, but when done consistently, can grow into millions in a few years. Different as these hockey stick events may be, they exhibit one common and fundamental trait that enables them to exhibit this behavior of slow start in the beginning and suddenly gigantic growth later on. This essential ingredient is that at their core, these events are programmed to do only one thing, and that is to grow. When put into ground, the oak seed has no other job. It does not go to the movies or take a day off. Its job is simply to multiply the cells. And unlike the random walker, which gets buffeted by all kinds of random events, the hockey stick walker has one job, one direction, and keeps on it. Another aspect of the hockey stick behavior, which should be encouraging to you as an entrepreneur, is that the starting point does not matter. The most important points being remaining focused and consistent in the action. So, it might even be better to start small because that improves your chances of remaining focused and consistent in taking the action. So, being that the hockey stick behavior can lead to such dramatic outcomes, why do many of us not implement this behavior in our lives and businesses, you may ask? I suspect the answer to that lies in the fact that the beginning process for the hockey stick behavior is barely perceptible. In fact, there is usually a period in the beginning where, despite your best efforts, nothing appears to change. And this can be quite discouraging. And many people give up before the dramatic results show up. Therefore, to implement the hockey stick behavior in some area of your life or business, your main challenge is going to be to survive what I call the region of perseverance. And one trick to survive the region of perseverance is to do your goal setting around taking the action rather than focusing your goals on the results of that action, since you know it will not be much in the beginning. For example, to begin your savings goal to millionaire status, when you can only put aside $50 a month, your goal becomes, I will put aside $50 a month every month. In other words, after 10 months, you do not get to celebrate that you have $500 in your bank account. But every month, you celebrate the fact that you have been able to add $50 to your piggy bank without fail. What enables you to persevere in this monthly task is the faith that the big results will show up. And they do. Quite often, something magical happens en route to this goal. It becomes easier and you get better at doing this thing that you set for yourself. And before long, you are able to add thousands a month to your savings because you have kept up the practice and therefore became skilled at this one goal that you set for yourself. You are well on your way to being a millionaire in a few years. Whether it is a business or an important life goal, the hockey stick pattern of small actions with dramatic results is nature's gift to help you accelerate yourself to giant success. Learn it and use it to your advantage. Please let us know in the comments below if you find this type of content helpful. You would be encouraging us to create more by clicking the like button and subscribing to our channel. And while you're at it, please click that notification button so that you would immediately know when we put out new content. Many thanks and see you in the next video.